Rain poured relentlessly over the city, blurring the towering skyscrapers into shimmering shadows. At the very center stood the headquarters of Vesper Group. 52 floors of steel and glass. A company so powerful that a single decision made inside its walls could change thousands of lives. Employees often joked that the weather changed whenever the CEO walked into the building. No one laughed when he actually did. The revolving doors slowly opened. Every conversation in the lobby faded. The clicking of high heels stopped. Even the receptionist instinctively straightened her posture. Lucas Ashford had arrived. Dressed in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, he walked through the marble lobby without sparing anyone a glance. His expression was unreadable. His movements precise. His reputation terrifying. Lucas Ashford had arrived. Dressed in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, he walked through the marble lobby without sparing anyone a glance. His expression was unreadable. His movements precise. His reputation terrifying. To investors, he was a genius. To the media, he was the country's most eligible bachelor. To his employees, he was the man who fired an executive during a shareholders' meeting without raising his voice. People called him cold. Lucas preferred the word efficient. He entered the private elevator. The doors closed. Only then did the lobby breathe again. How many secretaries has he gone through this year? The receptionist whispered. 12. Another employee sighed. No, 13. Today's interview is for number 14. Everyone exchanged sympathetic looks. Nobody expected the new candidate to survive longer than a week. Across town, a black taxi stopped outside the company entrance. A young man stepped out carrying a leather briefcase. His navy blue suit was simple but elegant. His black hair was neatly combed. Round silver glasses rested on the bridge of his nose. Unlike everyone rushing through the rain, he walked calmly, as though he belonged there. His name, Ethan Hale, or at least, that was the name on his resume. He looked up at the enormous Vesper Group logo. This should be far enough. He whispered, far enough from his family. Far enough from the people still searching for him. 5 years ago, Ethan disappeared without leaving a single clue. Not because he had committed a crime, but because he believed someone had stolen his life. The only thing he carried from his past was an old silver pocket watch. The last gift his mother had ever given him. He touched it for a brief moment before walking inside. The lobby was quieter than he expected. The receptionist smiled politely. You must be Mr. Hale. Oh, yes. She handed him a visitor badge. Are you here for the executive secretary interview? I am. For a second. Her smile disappeared. I wish you luck. Thank you. You'll need more than luck. Before Ethan could ask what she meant, a loud crash echoed from the upper floor. Several employees looked at each other nervously. Someone had been fired. Again. Minutes later, the elevator doors opened. A young woman hurried out carrying a cardboard box. Inside were framed photographs. A coffee mug. A small cactus. Tears streamed down her face. No one stopped her. No one even looked surprised. The assistant hesitated. This one might be different. Lucas finally picked up the file. His eyes scanned the first page. Perfect academic record. 5 languages. Excellent recommendations. No social media. No family contacts listed. Lucas paused. No family. The elevator climbed in complete silence. 1 floor. 10 floors. 20. 30. Each passing second made the city below seem smaller. Ethan stood motionless, watching his own reflection in the polished steel doors. Calm on the outside. Restless within. The elevator finally stopped. 52nd floor. The doors slid open. Unlike the busy offices below, this floor was almost silent. Soft lights reflected off polished marble. Every desk was perfectly organized. Not a single paper was out of place. Even the air felt colder. A woman in a gray suit approached him. "Mr. Hale, oh yes, CEO is waiting." She led him through a long hallway lined with enormous windows overlooking the city. At the very end stood two dark wooden doors. She knocked once. A deep voice answered. "Come in." She stepped aside. "Good luck." Ethan slowly pushed the doors open. The office was far larger than he had imagined. Bookshelves stretched from floor to ceiling. A grand piano rested near the windows. The scent of coffee lingered in the air. Behind a black desk sat Lucas Ashford. Without looking up, he continued signing documents. "Sid." Ethan quietly took a seat. Several seconds passed. The only sound in the room was the scratching of a fountain pen across paper. Lucas finally closed the file. His sharp gray eyes met Ethan's. Neither of them spoke. It wasn't awkward. It was deliberate. Lucas always believed silence revealed more than questions ever could. Most applicants became nervous within seconds. Some avoided eye contact. Others began talking without being asked. Ethan's did neither. He simply waited. Lucas noticed. Interesting. He opened the resume. "Ethan Hale." "Oh, yes. 5 languages." "Correct. Master's degree in business administration." "Oh, yes. You declined offers from 3 multinational companies." "I did." Lucas leaned back. "Why?" Ethan answered without hesitation. "I'm looking for a place where results matter more than reputation." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "Do you think that's this company?" "I wouldn't be here otherwise." A faint smile almost appeared on Lucas's face. "Almost. Everyone knows my reputation." "They do. And yet you accepted this interview." "I accepted the job." Lucas looked up. "You sound confident." "I prepared." Lucas stood and walked toward the glass windows. The city stretched endlessly below. Without turning around, he spoke. "Do you know why my secretaries keep leaving?" Ethan's thought for a moment. "Because they try to work for your approval." Lucas finally turned. "And you?" "I'm here to do my job." For the first time in years. Lucas laughed. It wasn't loud. Just one quiet laugh. Outside the office, every employee froze. Did the CEO just laugh? No, that can't be right. Inside, Lucas walked back to his desk. "You start tomorrow." Ethan blinked. "There's no second interview. I've already made my decision." Lucas extended a contract across the desk. "Welcome to Vesper Group." As Ethan reached for the pen, neither man noticed the security camera outside the office. Someone was watching, hidden in another building across the street. A man lowered a pair of binoculars. "So," a slow smile spread across his face. "I finally found you." He picked up his phone. "Tell Mr. Victor, his son has been located." Miles away. An older man looked up from an unopened letter lying on his desk. For years, he had searched every city, every company, every university. Now, for the first time, he had a lead. He whispered one name. Ethan, unaware that the past had finally caught up with him. Ethan signed the contract. The ink had barely dried. But destiny had already begun writing the next chapter. The next morning, Ethan arrived exactly 15 minutes early. The office was still quiet. Only a handful of employees had arrived. As he stepped inside, dozens of curious eyes immediately turned toward him. He's back, so he actually accepted the job. I'll give him 3 days. No, 2, someone else whispered. Don't get attached. No secretary survives here. Ethan simply smiled. He placed his briefcase on his desk outside the CEO's office and quietly began organizing the day's schedule. 8:30. Coffee arrived. 8:35. The board meeting documents were prepared. 8:40. Every file was arranged in perfect order. At exactly 9 o'clock, the private elevator opened. Lucas Ashford stepped out. He walked toward his office without slowing down. Halfway there, he stopped. His eyes landed on the desk. Everything was already prepared. His coffee was still hot. His morning schedule had been updated. Every urgent document was marked with color-coded notes. For a brief second, Lucas frowned. He hadn't asked anyone to do that. He entered his office. On his desk lay another handwritten note. Meeting with Orion Holdings moved to 10:30. Legal department requires your signature. Flight to Singapore confirmed. Every detail already handled. Lucas pressed the intercom. Ethan, the young secretary entered. You called, sir. Lucas held up the note. Who told you to reorganize my schedule? No one's. You changed it anyway. I corrected it. Lucas narrowed his eyes. You corrected it. Ethan nodded calmly. 2 meetings overlapped. The airport travel time wasn't included. And your lunch break didn't exist. Silence filled the room. No one had ever pointed that out before. Lucas looked back at the schedule. Ethan was right. Every adjustment improved the day without removing a single meeting. For the first time, someone wasn't just following orders. They were thinking ahead. Lucas quietly placed the paper back on his desk. Good. Outside, the office staff stared through the glass walls. Is he getting fired? No, they're still talking. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, Ethan walked out, completely unharmed. The entire office surrounded him. What happened? Weren't you scared? Did he yell? Ethan adjusted his glasses. He said, Good. Silence. Then everyone laughed. Nice joke. No, seriously. What actually happened? Ethan simply smiled and returned to work. Across the room, Lucas watched through the glass. For the first time in years, the office felt different, not because of the work, because of the man quietly sitting outside his door. Someone who wasn't afraid of him. Someone who never tried to impress him. Someone Lucas couldn't quite understand. And that was exactly what made Ethan impossible to ignore. But neither of them noticed. A black luxury car had been parked across the street since sunrise. Inside, a man slowly lowered a photograph. It showed Ethan, taken only moments ago. So, he murmured, "You've finally stopped running." He dialed a number. Tell everyone, the search is over. Far away, another man stood beside the window of a massive mansion. Without saying a word, he looked at an old family photograph. One face had been carefully cut out years ago. His fingers brushed across the empty space. Then he whispered, "Welcome home." Whether Ethan wanted to return or not, 3 weeks passed. For the first time in years, the exit was peaceful. Meetings began on time. Clients left satisfied. Employees stopped avoiding the 52nd floor. Some even smiled again. The impossible had happened. Adrian Blake had stopped looking for a new secretary. One afternoon, a confidential board meeting came to an abrupt halt. The financial report is missing. Silence spread across the room. The document contained details of a billion-dollar acquisition. If it leaked, the company could lose everything. Every executive searched the conference table. Nothing. Adrian's expression darkened. Who prepared these files? Ethan did. The room instantly turned toward him. Ethan stood calmly. I prepared every document. Then where is the report? Without answering, Ethan walked to the projector. He pressed a single button. The missing report appeared on the screen. I removed the printed copy. The directors frowned. Why? Ethan looked around the rooms. Because someone inside this room was trying to steal it. The room fell silent. He tapped another key. Security footage appeared. A board member was clearly seen opening Ethan's briefcase while everyone was distracted. Gasps echoed through the room. Adrian leaned back. He wasn't. The guilty director was immediately escorted out. After the meetings, Adrian called Ethan into his office. You knew someone was watching you. Oh, yes. And you never reported it. I needed proofs. Adrian stared at him for a long moment. You trust evidence more than words. Before Adrian could ask what he meant, his phone rang. Unknown numbers. He answered. A calm voice spoke. If Ethan Hale is still working for you, protect him. Because people are coming to take him home. The call ended. Adrian slowly lowered the phone. At the same moment, downstairs, 3 black luxury cars stopped outside Vesper Group. Men in black suits stepped out. Employees watched nervously through the glass doors. The receptionist whispered, Who are they? One man approached the front desk. He placed a family photograph on the counter. It showed a smiling little boy. The receptionist looked closer. Her eyes widened. The receptionist looked closer. Her eyes widened. The little boy looked exactly like Ethan. Before she could ask another question, the man calmly slid the photograph back into his pocket. We're from the Hawthorne Investigation Bureau. We're looking for someone. The receptionist hesitated. I'm sorry. I can't disclose employee information. The man gave a polite smile. I expected that. He handed her a business card. If he ever asks about his past, give him this. Without another word, the group turned around. The black luxury cars disappeared into the afternoon traffic. Several employees exchanged confused glances. What was that about? No idea. They didn't even ask to come inside. High above the city, Ethan remained completely unaware. He was focused on preparing tomorrow's board presentation. Outside his office, Lucas noticed something unusual. His security chief entered quietly. Sir, the visitors downstairs weren't ordinary investigators. Lucas looked up. What do you mean? They are private security. The kind hired by extremely wealthy families. Lucas frowned. Who were they looking for? The security chief placed a photograph on the desk. Lucas picked it up. The child in the picture looked strangely familiar. Then his eyes shifted toward the glass wall. Toward Ethan's. For the first time, Lucas realized his quiet secretary was hiding a past far more complicated than anyone had imagined. Outside, the city continued as if nothing had happened. But somewhere, someone had already begun planning their next move. And Ethan still had no idea that his past was slowly finding its way back to him. It was nearly midnight. The executive floor had become silent. Only one desk lamp remained on. Ethan had fallen asleep while reviewing tomorrow's reports. Adrian stepped out of his office. He looked at the unfinished documents. Then, at Ethan's, without making a sound, he switched off the desk lamp, leaving only the hallway lights. Before returning to his office, he quietly said, "Don't stay too late." The next morning, the photograph never left Adrian's mind. Every time he looked at Ethan, he remembered the little boy in that picture. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. Yet, he chose not to ask. Everyone carried secrets. If Ethan wanted to tell him, he would. At exactly 9 o'clock, the executive board gathered inside the conference room. A large screen displayed the words, Project Aster, Vesper Group's biggest international partnership. Adrian stood before the room. Our final negotiations will take place in Singapore. The contract is worth over $3 billion. The client has one condition. He paused. They only want 2 representatives. Silence filled the room. Every executive straightened in anticipation. Adrian looked around the tables. Myself. His gaze shifted toward Ethan. And Ethan Hale. The room erupted. A secretary. Sir, that's highly unusual. There are more experienced executives. Adrian remained calm. I didn't ask for opinions. I made a decision. The room instantly fell silent. Outside the conference room, employees couldn't believe the news. Did you hear? Mr. Hale is going overseas with the CEO. No secretary has ever traveled with him. I heard he doesn't even trust his vice presidents. Another employee lowered her voice. I think the CEO actually trusts him. 3 days later, the company jet lifted into the clouds. For the first hour, neither man spoke. Adrian reviewed financial reports. Ethan organized tomorrow's presentation. The quiet wasn't uncomfortable. It had become familiar. Finally, Adrian closed his laptop. You've never been to Singapore. Ethan looked up. No, you read the client files. Twice. Adrian nodded. I expected that. A faint smile appeared on Ethan's face. That evening, the city glittered beneath thousands of lights. Their hotel overlooked Marina Bay. While Adrian attended a private dinner, Ethan remained in the conference room, reviewing every document, checking every number, searching for mistakes no one else would notice. Hours later, he stopped. One contract contained a single incorrect figure. Just one number. But if signed, the company would lose nearly $80 million. Ethan immediately printed the corrected page. He rushed toward the ballroom. The signing ceremony had already begun. Adrian reached for the pens. Mr. Blake. Ethan's voice echoed through the silent hall. Every executive turned. Ethan placed the corrected document beside Adrian. The figures on page 27. They don't match the audited reports. The client's legal team checked the numbers. Minutes passed. Finally, the lead attorney looked up. He's right. A wave of whispers spread across the room. The mistake hadn't come from Vesper Group. It had been inserted into the contract before the meeting. Someone had tried to sabotage the deal. Adrian slowly closed the contract. His eyes met Ethan's. For the 3rd time, Ethan had protected the company. But this time, it wasn't just preparation. Someone had deliberately set a trap. And they had failed. The contract had been signed. The celebration continued inside. But Adrian stepped outside. Ethan followed a few moments later. The lights of Marina Bay reflected across the water. Neither of them hurried back. After several minutes, Adrian spoke. You handled yourself well today. Ethan smiled faintly. I was only doing my job. Adrian looked toward the skyline. Not everyone would. Silence returned. But this time, it felt comfortable. The celebration ended. But the questions remained. Who changed the contract? Who wanted Vesper Group to fail? And more importantly, why did it happen the moment Ethan joined the company? The flight home was unusually quiet. Every crisis, every unexpected problem. Somehow, Ethan had already prepared for it. It was almost as if he had spent years expecting betrayal. Back at Vesper Group, life returned to normal. Or at least, it appeared to. Every mornings, the same black sedan remained parked across the street. Different driver, same car, same silence. Inside, the investigators watched patiently. We've confirmed his routine. He arrives at 8:45. He leaves around 7. No unnecessary social life. No close friends. The older man listening on the phone remained silent. Finally, he spoke. Don't let him notice. I don't want him frightened. I just want to know if he's happy. Meanwhile, Ethan unlocked his apartment door. The room was small, simple, almost empty. One sofa, one bookshelf, one dining table. Nothing more. He preferred it that way. Less to lose. As he placed his keys on the table, he noticed something. An envelope. No stamp. No address. Someone had slipped it beneath the door. Inside, there was only one photograph. A smiling woman, holding the hand of a little boy. On the back, 5 handwritten words. You were always loved. Ethan froze. His hands trembled. He recognized the handwriting immediately. His mother's, for the first time in 5 years. The walls he had built around his heart began to crack. But one question echoed through his mind. If his mother had written this, who delivered it? And how had they found him? Outside, the same black sedan remained parked across the street. Its occupants waited patiently, knowing the truth was getting closer. 2 days later, Ethan never arrived at work. For the first time, his desk remained empty. Adrian looked at the clock. 9:15, then 9:30. Finally, he called. Monday mornings, the atmosphere inside Vesper Group felt different. Employees gathered near the reception desk, whispering among themselves. Did you hear? The chairman is sending someone from the family office. I heard he's young, and he's joining as an executive. The private elevator opened. A tall young man stepped out. Perfectly tailored navy suit. Confident smile. Sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. My name is Damian Hawthorne. I'll be joining Vesper Group as executive director. He greeted everyone warmly. Within minutes, he had won over the entire office. Except one person. Something about Damian felt too perfect. A few moments later, Ethan walked into the lobby carrying a stack of files. Their eyes met. For a single second, time seemed to stop. Damian recognized him immediately. 5 years had changed Ethan's appearance. But not enough. So, Damian's thought, you really are alive. His smile never faded. But behind it, his mind was already racing. If Ethan returned home, everything Damian's father had worked for would disappear. The inheritance, the company, the family name, everything. No, he thought, I can't let that happen. Ethan simply bowed politely. Good mornings. Damian returned the greeting with the same calm smile. Nice to meet you. My name is Damian. Ethan smiled. Ethan Hale. Neither man revealed that one of them knew exactly who the other was. Later that afternoon, Adrian called Damian into his office. I've reviewed your resume. Impressive. Damian smiled modestly. I hope I can contribute to the company. Adrian studied him carefully. There was confidence, charm, perfect answers. Yet, something felt rehearsed. As Damien left the office, he glanced toward Ethan's desk. Their eyes met again. This time, Damien smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, but like someone who had already made the first move in a game. Only he knew they were playing. Across the hallway, Ethan felt an uneasy chill. For reasons he couldn't explain, the new executive felt strangely familiar. As if their paths had crossed long before today. Without realizing it, the first piece of the real conflict had finally entered Vesper Group. From the second floor, Damien watched quietly. Adrian and Ethan were discussing tomorrow's presentation. Ethan pointed toward a report. Adrian listened. Then, for the first time, he accepted a suggestion without changing a single word. Damien slowly smiled. So, it's happening. He closed Ethan's personnel file. If Adrian continues trusting him, my plans won't survive. The following week, Vesper Group was busier than ever. The international deal had made headlines. Investors praised Adrian Blake's leadership. Employees celebrated the company's biggest success. But hidden behind the applause, someone was quietly setting a trap. Damien stood alone in his office. A faint smile crossed his face. He opened Ethan's personnel file. So, you've built yourself a new life. Let's see how long it lasts. He picked up his phone. I need access to the executive server. Tonight, long after sunset, the office lights were almost completely off. Only one desk remained occupied. Ethan's. He was reviewing next week's financial reports. Unaware, someone was watching from the hallway. Damien quietly walked away. Exactly 5 minutes later, the building's security alarm suddenly sounded. Red lights flashed across every floor. Employees rushed out of their offices. Security guards hurried toward the executive floor. What happened? Someone accessed the confidential server. Within minutes, the entire executive team gathered inside the conference room. Adrian stood at the head of the table. His expression was colder than ever. The confidential acquisition files have been copied. Silence. The head of IT connected a laptop to the projector. The access came from. He hesitated. Mr. Ethan Hale's employee account. Every pair of eyes turned toward Ethan. He frowned. That's impossible. I never accessed the server. The IT manager shook his head. The records say otherwise. Someone whispered. I knew he was hiding something. Another executive slowly stepped back. The atmosphere changed instantly. For the first time, people looked at Ethan with suspicion instead of admiration. Adrian remained silent. His eyes never left Ethan. Ethan, can you explain this? Ethan met his gaze. I didn't do it. Adrian searched his face. No fear, no panic, only confusion. Before Adrian could respond, Damien quietly stood. I think we should let the investigation decide. His voice sounded calm. Reasonable. Exactly what everyone expected. No one noticed. The small smile hidden behind his lowered head. The trap had worked perfectly. For the first time since joining Vesper Group, Ethan stood completely alone. And somewhere in the shadows, the real enemy smiled. The game had finally begun. The office had grown quiet. Most employees avoided Ethan. Late that evening, Adrian walked past his desk. He placed a boxed dinner beside the keyboard. Ethan looked up. I've lost my appetite. Adrian answered without looking back. Then eat anyways. You'll need your strength. He continued walking. Ethan watched him disappear down the hallway. For the first time since the investigation began, he no longer felt completely alone. The investigation lasted 3 days. Every piece of evidence pointed toward Ethan's, his employee account, his access card, his workstation. Everything suggested he was guilty. But Adrian couldn't ignore one question. If Ethan wanted to steal company secrets, why would he save the company 3 times before this? The evidence didn't match the man's. Late that evening, Adrian remained alone in his office. He replayed the security footage again, frame by frame, second by second. Then, something caught his attention. At exactly 9:14 p.m., a maintenance worker walked into the server room. 2 minutes later, the cameras went black. Adrian frowned. Who authorized maintenance? No one's. The next morning, Adrian ordered a full investigation. Every security log, every visitor record, every fingerprint. By afternoons, the truth began to surface. The maintenance worker didn't exist. Employee ID was fake. Someone had entered the building using forged credentials. Meanwhile, Damien stood alone in the underground parking lot. His phone rang. "You failed." The voice on the other end sounded furious. "Adrian has reopened the investigation." Damien clenched his fists. He wasn't supposed to trust Ethan. The voice replied quietly, "Then finish it." Before he could answer, the call ended. That evening, Ethan packed the few belongings from his desk. Several employees watched silently. No one spoke. No one apologized. Even though the investigation wasn't over, the whispers had already judged him. As Ethan reached the lobby, Adrian called out, "Ethan." He stopped. Without turning around, Adrian walked toward him. "I know you didn't do it." Ethan slowly looked up. For the first time, his calm expression broke. "You believe me?" Adrian nodded. "I trust people, not forged evidence." Before Ethan could answer, the lobby doors opened. An elderly man entered. His silver hair was neatly combed. His suit was simple, but every guard immediately stepped aside. Behind him, the same investigators Ethan had unknowingly been watched by for weeks. The old man looked directly at Ethan. His voice trembled. "Ethan, I finally found you." The silver pocket watch slipped from Ethan's hand. It hit the marble floor. The sound echoed through the silent lobby. Tears filled the old man's eyes. "I've been searching for you for 5 years." And for the first time, Ethan realized the man standing before him had never stopped. Silence filled the lobby. Ethan couldn't move. The silver pocket watch rested on the marble floor. The elderly man slowly picked it up. His hands trembled. "I searched every city, every university, every company. I was afraid I'd never see you again." Ethan took a step back. "No, you abandoned me." The man's eyes widened. "I never did. You left me. You never came. You never wrote. You never looked for me." The old man slowly reached into his coat. He removed a thick bundle of letters. Every envelope was addressed to Ethan. None of them had ever been opened. "I wrote every month. For 5 years. They all came back." Ethan stared at the letters. His breathing became unsteady. "That's impossible." The old man shook his head. "It wasn't your father who kept us apart. It was your uncle." At that moment, another voice echoed through the lobby. "That's enough." Everyone turned. Damien stepped forward. His calm smile had disappeared. "So, You finally know. Adrian looked at him. What are you talking about? Damien laughed quietly. My father intercepted every letter. He told Ethan his father abandoned him. He told my uncles that Ethan wanted nothing to do with the family. For 5 years, they believed the other had given up. Silence fell over the lobby. Adrian clenched his fists. You destroyed a family. For an inheritance. Damien lowered his head. If Ethan returned, my family would lose everything. The old man closed his eyes. So that's why I could never find my son. Security officers entered the lobby. Damien didn't resist. As they led him away, he looked at Ethan one last time. I'm sorry. But Ethan said nothing. His attention remained on the man standing before him. His father. The older man stepped closer. I don't expect you to forgive me today. I only want one chance. To be your father again. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, Ethan quietly stepped forward and embraced him. The years of anger, loneliness, and misunderstanding finally broke apart. Nearby, Adrian smiled, not because the mystery had ended, but because Ethan no longer had to carry it alone. 6 months later, Vesper Group announced a major change. Ethan Hale was no longer Adrian Blake's secretary. He had accepted a new position, Director of Corporate Strategy, no longer working directly under Adrian, but working beside him. One evening, as they stood on the rooftop overlooking the city, Adrian smiled. You've finally stopped running. Ethan looked toward the skyline, then back at Adrian's. Maybe, because I finally found a place worth staying.